James, is it really rolling? Okay. Okay. No worries. Okay. Welcome to my Rotary Show, doing good and having fun. My name is Jamie Mick. I'm the past district governor of District 6950 and your host today. The first thing I wanted to go through was a little bit about why we created the show. Back in about January, February of this year, some of the folks here from Tampa Bay Multimedia decided to come to us about doing a Rotary Show. And the district really mulled it over, trying to find out how could we do this, what would be the advantages to the clubs, and ultimately, how would we actually orchestrate this on a Monday afternoon? To date, we have about 2,500 folks that watch us live as it streams over the internet each time we do the show. So that means that your club could be one of the clubs that these 2,500 people watch when they're actually tuning in to watch this show. We've had comments from folks from all over the United States, as well as those right here in our own district. It's important for your club to take a look at why they would want to do this. So let's talk a little bit about how this actually is formulated. Typically, the Monday or Tuesday before we actually do a show, someone would actually submit to me a form that they've received earlier that gives all of the detail that they want to cover in the show. What do they want to highlight in their club? What events are coming up? Maybe bring in a new member and have them talk about why they joined this particular club. You always want to make sure that you have your president-elect, and then your foundation or your membership chair. And then, of course, if you're going to talk about a fundraiser, you want to make sure that that fundraising chair is there as well. There is actually 4 segments to the show. Typically, this first segment, which is what we call segment number 1, is usually about Rotary International, what's going on at Rotary International, what the newsletters have actually produced since the previous show, the last Monday, because each week I get at least one, if not multiple newsletters from Rotary International that highlight young professionals and what's happening in Rotaract, or what's happening in membership, or foundation highlights, or polio updates. So we kind of go through that in the first segment. And then the second and the third segment are all about the actual club that's being highlighted. So we're going to talk about when your club meets, where it meets, how frequently it meets, because now with the new guidelines, you're allowed to do some different things. So we want to make sure everybody knows how to get a hold of you. What's your website? What's your Facebook page? What phone numbers should they be calling if they're interested in attending your club? And then the third segment is usually about whatever big event you've got coming on, a service projects, and then of course probably your annual fundraiser. Now the fourth segment is an actual what I call catch-all. If you have enough to go on with more about your club, we're going to fill segment 4. If you don't, Then we'll talk a little bit about what other clubs are doing in the district. The goal is to give you an opportunity to use at least a 12, 24, or 36-minute little blurb on Facebook or on your website so people can understand what your club is all about. This is unbelievable when it comes to actually attracting new members because they're able to see who you are and what you're all about. Also, you're able to find donors or other community partners to help you with your fundraiser or with your community project. So I encourage you, please give me a ring or actually send me an email at myrotaryshow@gmail.com and let me know which Monday you'd be interested in actually coming up and filming. Now, if you've got video or something from an actual project or a grant that you've done recently, we can certainly use that as well. We love the videos. We love to show lots of graphics and lots of photographs about your club. I think it's really important that clubs take advantage of this because this is really about you. It's not about me. It's about your club and your community and what Rotary is to you. So please make sure that you send me an email and let's get your club scheduled. And if you'd like to get some feedback from other clubs that have been on the program, feel free to ask around. Every single club that has actually come to the program and participated, while hesitant at the beginning when we're in the green room, by the time they're done, they walk out of here with smiles and they say, wow, this was really beneficial. And they use it again and again on social media as well as in their club as well. Now, the other thing is that you can show this video at your club during a club meeting. So as a pocket program, as many of us call it, when your speaker doesn't show up, here's a great way for you to actually have a program, plug your LCD projector in, flip open the laptop, and go ahead and show a program or a segment. It's all up to you. Again, this is not about me. This is about you, your Rotary Club, and your community and your members. So please take advantage of this outstanding opportunity. The other thing that I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about was polio. Now, many of us have been aware of the fact that there have been some cases in Nigeria that have now cropped up again, and they are now actually responding to that. There was a great article on Rotary.org that talked about the CDC chairman. His name is Tom Frieden. And Tom is a young man that actually got involved at the CDC and helped to eradicate the outbreak of Ebola in the United States. And so he was at the forefront of actually that response. Now, the CDC is usually the responder and the monitor of any of these diseases that actually crop up. And I found it interesting that he really credits Rotary with being never-ending champion in actually the fight against eradicating polio. Because without that, we are not going to be able to ever declare the world polio-free. And I think it's important to understand a little bit about, kind of what he looks at when it comes to polio. He talks a little bit about how these community outbreaks really are obviously a concern for him. His organization is not only charged with the lab work that goes on when an outbreak occurs, but actually responding to it. They're actually the boots on the ground along with the World Health Organization when Nigeria reported cases. So they're immediately trying to figure out, where did this person go? Where did they come from? How did they come in contact with the polio virus? And then ultimately, how did they contract it? Then they're actually waiting afterwards and monitoring the success when we actually go in and do an immunization. So they're actually always the ones at the forefront monitoring what's going on. I always call it that the brains of it, not that we all brains, but they're the ones keeping all of the statistics on everything. They say that there are up to 4 million children in the world that still need to be immunized. 400 million children. There are over 70 countries that are still at risk. Why is that, someone asked me? Well, that's because of the water, the sewer, sanitation situation in those particular countries, along with a lot of it has to do with these remote villages that sometimes are difficult to get to. So the geography of actually getting the actual immunization to the children is extremely challenging. And then, of course, layer all of that with the actual political challenges with the different organizations and administrations that govern each one of these villages and these countries, particularly in places like Nigeria, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. It has become quite dangerous to be doing this work as well. So safety is always an utmost concern for them. He was asked, actually, what should Rotary do? And in his very first words in the paragraph, when you read the question, he says, don't let the pressure up on polio. Rotary has to keep their eye on the ball. And that means that we cannot give up until we actually see this through to the end. And then it's all about keeping immunizations in everyone's children, so all these children are immunized, because the sanitation issues have not all been dealt with. So polio is still going to be there. We're still going to have the opportunity if we do not continue to immunize children. So it's extremely, extremely important that we continue this fight. I was recently at a Rotary meeting just this weekend where the question was asked, what will Rotary do after polio? That is not even something that anyone is discussing just yet, simply because they're keeping their eye on the ball. We must eradicate polio. We've made a promise to the children of the world, and Rotary doesn't break their promises. So we are certainly going to keep that flag flying until the last case has been reported and a year has gone by and we can declare the world polio-free. When asked what keeps him up at night, he actually didn't say it was the eradication of polio. What he actually said is that what kept him up at night was influenza. Because influenza does take lives each and every year, and we don't actually have a vaccine against it, it is something that he is very concerned about, depending on what strain of influenza or the flu crops up each winter. So that's really what keeps him up at night. And I thought this was interesting when he was asked, you're in charge of the society's health. What's your personal prescription for good health? First off, do the things that you love to do. Enjoy life. Have fun. Whether it be red peppers or sweet potatoes or whatever, make sure you have as much as you can. And to find physical activity that you like, such as dancing, as well as walking, playing basketball, bicycling, or more, like triathlons, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. So I would encourage you to take a look at this actual article on Tom, because I found it very interesting. And obviously, he is committed to the work that he is doing with the CDC. We're going to take a short break, and after that, we're going to talk about a polio survivor that I've personally met and is probably one of the most inspirational survivors I've ever seen.
Enjoy tranquil seclusion in an eco-lover's paradise. Paddling through the mangroves where the only sounds you'll hear are the sounds of nature. Because you deserve to relax on vacation, visit Pasco County, Florida.
young professionals and young people can find something in Rotary that makes so much sense for their existence.
One of my goals, and I think one of the goals of just younger people in general as we get into organizations like this, is to kind of diversify it.
There are a lot of people who have a lot to offer, but don't know an outlet for it, don't know where to put it, and this gives you access to everything.
I was just amazed at everything Rotary did and how much bigger than it was than what I thought it was, and so I wanted to join. I wanted to be a part of that.
You know, we laugh. It's a bunch of old guys that get together for lunch every week, and it's the furthest thing from that.
It's so much more than I originally thought it was. It wasn't just about making friends. It was about going out on a random Friday morning and helping to build a barn.
You know, we tend to be a little compartmentalized in our lives, and sometimes we forget people in our community who need help.
The face-to-face, the personal engagement with individuals and in the community is, you can't find that or replicate that elsewhere.
Whether we come from one walk of life or another, it transcends all of that because we come together in the name of service.
As a young professional, I just think it's one of the best things I could possibly have done.
Welcome back to my Rotary Show, Doing Good and Having Fun. I told you about an inspirational polio survivor that I met last year at the Zone Institute. Now, the Zone Institute is held typically every October. It's where the folks that are actually the current district governor and those that are in line to be district governor are trained at the beginning of the week. And then those old fogies like myself, the past district governors, we come in Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday and kind of have a class reunion where we get to meet up with other past district governors that we served with the year that we served Rotary in that capacity. And then also to kind of get some education, some inspiration, and just some fellowship to have a good time. Now, Minda Dentler was actually at, that's actually Tom's photograph. Go to the next one, James. Minda is an actual polio survivor. She is paralyzed more or less from the waist down, and she is a triathlon athlete. And I don't mean the Paralympic triathlons or anything like that. She's actually competed in the Ironman triathlon that if you and I went to a triathlon, we would be competing right alongside of her. Her story is very unique, but yet pretty similar to other stories we've heard. She's originally from India. Her mother was a single mom when she was born. It was very clear she contracted polio at a very young age, less than 3 years of age. And her mother knew that she was not going to be able to provide for Minda. So rather than try to provide for her or not provide for her, she actually gave her up for adoption to an orphanage. Minda spent the first 3 years of her life in this orphanage. And although she doesn't really remember anything too traumatic about it, what she does remember is that it was very primitive. There were not a lot of resources there and certainly not a lot of staff members to help anyone out. But at the age of 3, she was adopted by a couple who actually took her to Spokane, Washington. They had another adopted child and 2 of their own biological children, but they adopted Minda and then began to actually put her through or take her through the actual medical journey of trying to get her legs to at least support her weight so she could walk on crutches or with braces. Ultimately, she was able to do that. Now, Minda currently is about 37 years old. She met a gentleman. She actually graduated from college, went on to New York City, works for a large international insurance company in New York City, met her husband, got married, and actually has a child. And I met their child as well. Beautiful baby girl, just gorgeous. And while she was there, and she'd always had quite a drive to compete, but never as an athlete. She had actually competed in the debate team and other kind of forensics types of competition, but nothing that was actually physical, nothing where she was actually physically using her wheelchair or her crutches. She met a gentleman by the name of Dick Tram. And Dick Tram in New York City was working over at an athletic facility. Minda went in there just to kind of see what could be done, maybe, kind of how far could she really go. And he gave her her first arm wheelchair. So an arm bicycle, which is a bike that they use their arms to actually pedal it and not their legs. Now, when you meet Minda, one of the things that distinctively stand out is the size of her upper arms. They're probably the size of your calves. They are very, very large, very, very muscular, and I'm pretty sure that her jackets are all custom tailored, because there's no way you could find a big enough arm for that and still fit her little petite body, because she is actually pretty petite. I would guess her to be about 5'2" when she's standing up. So they actually started to compete. She started to work on actually becoming just an athlete. Wasn't really looking at triathlons at first, just looking at racing, just competing. So what did she do? The New York Marathon. In order to actually feel as if she was qualified, she actually completed the New York Marathon, and she did that in 2006. So her journey has been long. That was 10 years ago today, 10 years ago this year. And she actually then went out to, and as she moved through the triathlon, for an Ironman, you have to qualify in order to actually compete in an actual Ironman. So first you have to go through a series of races, get a minimal amount of time, and then you're able to qualify and actually compete at the Ironman level. The first Ironman she competed with was in 2012 in Hawaii. Funny thing is I know a young lady that worked for the Human Resources Department for Ironman, and she happened to be in Hawaii when she was actually competing. And so she remembers this young lady particularly because of the fact that she was in an actual hand bike. And so that was pretty unusual. She wanted to be, her dream was to be the first woman to compete and finish an Ironman triathlon. Well, in 2012, unfortunately, Minda did not make it. She did not make the minimum time on her cycle, her actual cycling. Now, you go about, you're going to swim 2.4 miles, which doesn't sound like a lot until you attempt to swim that. I was a lifeguard in high school and college, and that's a long way, but that's not anything to sneeze at. Then she was going to hand bike 112 miles. Now, my parents live in Grand Marais, Michigan. I'm from Marquette, Michigan. It's a little over 100 miles. That would mean that she would have to bike that route. That is phenomenal. And then she would have to do a push a racing wheelchair 26.2 miles, and it'd have to all be within the time limits required by Ironman to say that you qualified and actually won. Needless to say, it was extremely disappointing to her. And at one point, she actually questioned her ability to actually do it. But sure enough, in 2013, October of 2013, she came back and actually completed it. She was the first woman triathlon with a disability in an actual hand bike to complete an Ironman, and it was also in Hawaii. It was a 14-hour and 39-minute adventure for her during that actual race. And obviously, her achievements were overwhelming. You might have seen her picture on the Rotarian magazine back in October of 2000. Actually, it was probably November of 2013. She was highlighted, and again, she has now become an actual polio ambassador for Rotary. So what does that really mean? Well, that means that when we do a National Immunization Day, now our National Immunization Day is October 24th, so it's coming up very shortly. And she is usually in India, because that is her country of origin, where she hails from. And she is there, and she actually participates in immunizing the children in India. So then that also means that she is usually throughout the world doing other immunizations that are done throughout the world on any given day. But we do typically try to focus on October 24th as kind of the celebration of the eradication of polio for Rotary. But they have immunizations in Nigeria, Afghanistan, and Pakistan almost every month of the year. So there are usually IDs, we call them immunization days, IDs, going on almost every single month of the year that Rotary is involved in. If you're interested in doing that, just let me know. I'll be glad to connect you with our zone polio director, which is Cindy Covington. And Cindy goes on one of those IDs every single year, typically in October. So I believe she's going towards the end of October. I'm not sure which countries she's actually going to. But one of the things that really hit home for Minda when she was in India recently on a trip last year was that she was in a hospital where she happened to meet a young woman whose name was Parveen. And Parveen also seemed to be the same age as Minda. And Parveen was illiterate, didn't have a job, was a burden to her family, and clearly was in poor health. And Minda, it really struck her that if the cosmics had shifted just a little different, that could be her lying in that bed. And Parveen would have been the adopted child. So she's very grateful for not only the adoption, but the opportunities that have been presented since then. And she's certainly taken advantage of that and tried to make the world a better place. One of the things that she said in her paragraph here is that there are 10 to 20 million polio survivors. Our next challenge will be the physical rehabilitation of these survivors. And that with good education and preventive stigmatisms in their communities, they can lead productive lives. And so that's really what she's also focusing on, is to give those polio survivors the opportunity to make their life as fulfilling as hers has been, and to be able to enjoy some of the common day things like getting married and having a child that Minda certainly doesn't take for granted. She'd like to see other polio survivors be able to enjoy those same life-changing experiences. So you can read more about Minda in the Rotary.org website. All you need to do is put in Ironman Triathlon, and her name will come up and the article will come up. But I encourage you to take a look at that. It is a phenomenal story, and she is a phenomenal survivor. We'll be back after these messages, talk a little bit about the upcoming events here in our district.
Hello, I'm Isabelle Fontana. You may know me from the world of fashion, but I'm also a polio ambassador for Rotary International. I have decided to participate in this campaign because I am a mother and I'm very conscious about our future.
नाम क्या है? What is your name? Isabelle. अपना नाम बताओ. She's training with the song.
Well, I vaccinated a lot of children, and that for me was I felt it was the most important experience of my life, actually.
We're this close to making history. This close to changing the world.
What a great representation of another outstanding young lady that's assisting Rotary and helping us to eradicate polio. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the district conference that's coming up June 2017. I realize that's a long ways away. Many people think, oh, I'll take care of this another day. I encourage you to listen up because this is a conference you're not going to want to miss. First and foremost, we're going to have it at the Marriott, the Tampa International Airport. It's a beautiful facility that actually has some gorgeous rooms and some great meeting space. They actually have 2 floors of meeting space, large classrooms like this, as well as a beautiful ballroom, which we will be holding the Governor's Gala in. So how do you register? The first thing is you need to go on the dacdb.com website and actually click on the calendar and then go down to the June and you'll see where you can actually register. Now, why would you want to do this? There's a couple reasons. First off is it's a great party. It's a great time to celebrate the end of the year. So if you're president of your Rotary Club, here's an opportunity for you to kick it up a little bit and have some fun and celebrate not only your leadership, but the achievements of your club and its members. And it's a great time for us to fellowship as a district. So on Thursday, we're going to actually open registration about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you'll be able to register until about 5 o'clock. At 6 o'clock, the Sauce Boss is actually going to start playing. Now, who is the Sauce Boss? The Sauce Boss is a gentleman that actually hails from Jacksonville, Florida, and he makes gumbo while performing his jazz. And yes, you can look him up on YouTube. I've got several of his songs or albums downloaded, and I listen to them in the car. And he is actually going to cook gumbo for us and play for us for roughly about an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. Now, if gumbo's not your thing, don't worry. There's going to be a buffet dinner for you as well. You're going to be able to sit inside and fellowship with other district Rotarians, or you can sit outside right there on the little patio that they have, and it's not little, it's quite large, and actually be there as well. Now, the hotel assures me that that area is actually not under sun, that it's got a very nice shade of the building, so it'll be nice and cool, and there'll be hopefully a nice little breeze, so it'll be enjoyable for all of us. Friday morning, we're actually going to start with a general session in the morning where we'll be all together, and then we'll move into different breakout sessions depending on what your flavor is. We'll have lunch together where we have a great lunch speaker that is a local celebrity, a previous Rotarian. She's not a Rotarian right now, but hopefully she will be secured, and you're going to be really enjoy listening to her talk a little bit about community service and servicing the community, not on just a local level here in the Tampa Bay area, but also on a national level, which is what she does today. We actually also have a young lady that will be joining us who is an actual scholar, and her journey to that is actually quite remarkable. And then on Friday night, we're going to have the Governor's Gala. Now, the Governor's Gala is actually going to be a gala. It's not necessarily an awards banquet. Awards will be given out during the Thursday dinner, the Friday lunch, and then as well as the big ones will be given out at the Governor's Gala. But there will be live music and dancing for you, so you're going to be able to have a really great time. Do I call it a formal affair? Yeah, kind of, sort of, but you know what? It's Florida. We're pretty much going to let you come dressed as you are to enjoy it. Saturday is actually travel day because on Sunday is the International Conference. Now, this is our opportunity to travel. It's roughly around an 8-hour drive to Atlanta. Many of us have already gotten hotel rooms. The DoubleTree downtown is the hotel that most of us are staying at. We have about 260 people already registered for the international conference. Only about 100 registered for the district conference, so we need more folks to do that. But then you're going to be able to take part in probably one of the most moving experiences that you will ever have on a large scale with Rotary. The international conference is something that's just undescribable. You're going to have the flag ceremony, which I believe they're actually going to have to do twice because they expect the attendance to be so large. But every country is recognized that has a Rotary Club in it. And you're going to be able to meet folks from all over the world. And I can tell you that nobody's really too bashful. I typically sit down next to someone I don't know and just start talking to them. And whether they can understand English or not, you typically are able to communicate with them. And there's a great thing that we always do, and that's exchange pins of some kind. So I always bring a pocket full of pins with me, at least some kind of Rotary pins, or some of our district pins with us so that I can exchange with them. There's a House of Friendship with supplies and different types of awards and different types of pins that is hands down the best Rotary supply place you'll ever see. Not to mention the fact that Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation, as well as End Polio Now, all have gigantic booths where you're able to get all sorts of information and samples of brochures that are available on Rotary.org. The closing ceremonies will be on Wednesday evening, in the late afternoons. There will actually be a birthday party for the Rotary Foundation because it will be our 100th year anniversary. The Rotary Foundation was started with $26.50. And then we will all head home. Now, many of us will stay in the Atlanta or the Georgia area and enjoy their hospitality for a few more days before we actually travel back down to Florida to continue our lives on Monday. So I encourage you to take the opportunity to do this. But I'm going to go ahead and show the video of John Germ and Robert, who is actually inviting you to Atlanta. It shows you a little bit about the taste of what you're going to experience there. Can we roll that video?
The 2017 Rotary International Convention in Atlanta will be extra special. The Rotary Foundation will celebrate 100 years of doing good in the world, in the city where it all began. This is our time to come together to mark this important milestone. So please join Judy and me for the biggest party of the Rotary year.
Hello, I'm Mayor Kasim Reed, and I invite Rotary members from around the world to the city of Atlanta for the 2017 Rotary Convention. Atlanta is known as the City of Peace, home to 2 centers honoring Nobel Peace Prize recipients, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Jimmy Carter. I'm certain this convention will be memorable, and I encourage you to take advantage of all the City of Atlanta has to offer.
On behalf of the state of Georgia, we'd like to welcome you to the Gateway to the South. Discover our historic architecture. Experience the wonder of the Appalachian Trail. Take in the beauty of our beaches or take on some of the best golf courses in the world. Be charmed by the people and the magic of the South. Wherever you go, we welcome you. We're glad Georgia is on your mind.
Please join Judy and me at the 2017 Rotary International Convention in Atlanta. What better way to celebrate the centennial of the Rotary Foundation than for Rotarians to come together from every Rotary club in the world.
We've made so many new friends and learned about their projects and how we might be able to collaborate on. It's just been fabulous.
I make my holiday once every year, and Rotary gives me the opportunity to visit different parts of the world.
It's amazing to see all the countries that are represented here.
See you in Atlanta.
Now, as you can see, it's going to be quite an event down there in Atlanta. The great thing about the event is all of the hotels and the convention center are all within walking distance right downtown in like a little complex. So it makes it really easy to move between venues very, very simply and really without too much wait or hassle. Of course, if you walking any kind of distance is difficult for you, then you can certainly make arrangements for the electric wheelchairs as well, because they will certainly be plentiful there. They typically are at every conference, so that you're able to go ahead and enjoy it just like anyone else, regardless of your physical ability to walk. The other thing that I wanted to let you know is that we always have what's called a Southland breakfast or a Southland event. I have not heard yet whether it will be in the morning hours or in the evening hours, but it's typically when ours two zones, Zone 33 and Zone 34, all get together and attend. Obviously, the director will be there, Joe, and then the incoming director will be there as well, which was recently selected just this last weekend, and I had the privilege of serving on that committee, but I'm not allowed to tell you who it is just yet. Joe will make that formal announcement, but both of those folks will be there. You'll be able to meet past zone directors as well. It's basically our time to fellowship together as a zone, as the two zones. And people always wonder, well, how do I connect with everyone? Obviously, texting and messaging is going to be a great way to do that. But the hub for District 6950 will be that DoubleTree Hotel in downtown Atlanta. That's where Mike and Jocelyn will be, as well as Perry and Tekoa, and Eloy and Maria, and myself and many other of the district leaders on Mike's teams this year. It's a great opportunity for you to not only fellowship with the district folks and other clubs, but a great opportunity for you to fellowship with other people across the world, which I can tell you I have some very sweet memories of New Orleans as well as Lisbon. Those are the two that I have already attended, and I'm so much looking forward to Atlanta. Now, someone asked a little bit about transportation. Becky Bennett is diligently working on opportunities for you to either have plane tickets at a reduced cost, or actually to have buses available that we can load on the buses right from the hotel there at the Marriott at the Tampa International Airport, and then go ahead and ride a bus up to Atlanta, and then they would pick us up on Thursday and drive back. I believe the cost is less than $100 a person for that bus, and obviously that will be a lot of fun and fellowship on the ride up there as well. And someone asked, will they have bathrooms? Of course there will be bathrooms on those buses. And I'm sure there will be some refreshments as well for all of us to enjoy. So I encourage you, register for the district conference, which is that Thursday and Friday prior to the international conference. And then we will definitely see you in Atlanta on Sunday so that we can enjoy some fellowship and celebrate the anniversary of the Rotary Foundation. We're going to take a break right now, and we'll be back, talk a little bit more about what's going on in the district and some opportunities you just don't want to miss.
Enjoy tranquil seclusion in an eco-lover's paradise. Paddling through the mangroves where the only sounds you'll hear are the sounds of nature. Because you deserve to relax on vacation, visit Pasco County, Florida.
identity, to making history.
This close to changing the world.
We're this close.
This close to making sure no child suffers a crippling disease
ever again. This close.
We are this close to ending polio.
Ending polio.
All we need is you.
This close.
If we don't act now, we may lose this chance forever. Help Rotary make history at endpolionow.org.
Welcome back to my Rotary Show, doing good and having fun. So what's happening in the district? Well, quite a bit actually. On October 1st, we're going to hold the first District University 6950. And it is an opportunity for you to get additional training. Now, there was an email recently put out that I thought I would actually, read to you, because I think it was really pointed about how Governor Mike actually talked about why you should attend the university and what advantages is it for you or for your club, and better yet, the community that you serve. Now, we are going to provide for you an unprecedented level of training that anyone, regardless if they've been in Rotary 30 years or they've been in Rotary 30 days, they would be able to come and attend this and actually hands-on learn things. Learn about the many, many facets, the many, many strings of Rotary, because it is a little overwhelming, particularly to new folks. And for those that have been in Rotary for 30 years, Rotary is not your daddy's Rotary. It has definitely changed. Quite a bit has changed. So the idea is to combine 3 seminars that we typically do into one day. Why is that? Well, because we respect your time as Rotarians. It's much better to put it all in one full day than actually have 3 separate Saturdays where we have to disrupt your happenings, your life, to come to training. So that means that you're going to get Rotary Foundation training, membership training, as well as public image training. You're going to get the Avenues of Service training, and you also have the ability to take the DAC DB training, everything you wanted to know about the DAC. It is pretty extensive, all of the training is. For those of you that want to qualify to actually do a grant in 2017-18, this is the mandatory foundation training that's required for you to sign that memorandum of understanding to be a lead club. So it's paramount if that's something that you have as a goal. So if you're a president-elect out there or you're a current foundation chair and you've got great ideas about doing a grant next year, you need to come to this training in order to qualify to be able to sign that memorandum of understanding. We call it an MOU. The other thing is that, so again, stressing, it's one Saturday instead of 3. So again, respecting your time and making sure we make the most of it. We're also doing a Rotaract Summit. So this is something that a lot of folks talked about. Next week, we're actually going to have some young professionals that went to the Young Professional Summit that was held in Atlanta, Georgia. They're going to be on the show next week. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But we have folks coming in from all over the state to actually facilitate this. So if you're a Rotaract liaison, or you're in a Rotaract club, or your club would like to start a Rotaract club, or you simply want to get involved with young professionals, this is for you. It will be happening in the morning hours between 9 and noon before we have lunch. You'll still be able to take part in the afternoon classes, but it will be absolutely focused, dead on, all about Rotaract and how to facilitate that, how to grow that, how to capture those young people that are in Rotaract clubs and help them in their journey to become Rotarians. So this is really important if Rotaract is your thing. This is, there's never been a district training quite like what we've put together here. And I can tell you that there are about 20 people in the district that have diligently worked very hard, along with every single leader at the zone level will be attending as well. So we've got a lot of outside folks coming in to actually do presentations and be there to help assist you as well. I mentioned about qualifying for the grants. That's certainly outlined here. Now, August was membership month. We did a bang-up job as a district in bringing in new members. So here's your opportunity for you to have that new member attend University 6950. For $35, which really is just covering the meals, The school system has waived over $5,000 in fees, so that we're really just paying for the labor of the janitor to be there, and some ancillary folks. So it's a great opportunity for your new members to come in and really just kind of take a class of everything and be able to have a great taste of Rotary. So this is an opportunity, and it saves you time as a club leader. Why? Because you don't have to orientate them to that part of it. They can go through this and they'd be able to take a class in foundation, a class in membership, a class in public image, and then in the afternoon, many of the classes are being repeated so that they could attend every single one and be able to partake in those. So it's a great, great way to do that. Also, fresh ideas, new ways of doing things, being able to take advantage of what's offered at Rotary.org, which to me is the best kept secret, but we need to really educate you on what's available. So how do you sign up? Go on the DAC-DB, click on calendar, and then go ahead and do the sign up. It's probably one of the first things that pops up for you. Some other things happening in the district that the clubs are doing, and I wanted to make sure to talk to you about that. I think we have a flyer on the football raffle, that chance drawing that's going on. This is an annual fundraiser for Indian Rocks Beats. They were on the show earlier this spring and talked a little bit about this. This is going to be at the Texas Stadium, and if you watched it football the first Sunday that they had football, which was a Labor Day weekend, you probably saw some of that coverage on the actual Texan stadium. It is phenomenal. Billions, with a B, have been spent on that stadium. It would be a phenomenal opportunity to watch, of course, the Green Bay Packers and some other unfortunate team in the Super Bowl. That's just my prediction. The other thing is we have Painting for Peace. This actually started the year I was governor. This club actually started doing this, and we had a contest, the Clearwater Beach Club. And we had a contest and let the kids paint their idea of peace for President Tanaka, who came to visit our district. And then we presented him. There was a judging that went on, and we presented him with one of those framed paintings. And I can tell you that when I was at Rotary International not long after that, it was hanging in his office. So he's very, very appreciative and treasures that. And then I also was the recipient of one of those paintings at the district conference later that year. The other thing that's going on, of course, the Rattlesnake Festival right here in Pasco County. The San Antonio Club was on a couple weeks ago. We talked about the Rattlesnake Festival. Some of us will be up at the Zone Institute, but many of you will be down here, and I think this would be a great opportunity to support that small club, but also to get out and see some pretty interesting happenings, particularly when they milk the snakes of the venom. That is something you just have to see. And of course, the last thing I wanted to tell you about was the Longleaf Triathlon that's coming up October, I'm looking for a date, October 16th, which is actually that same weekend. This is a great opportunity. If you're not busy, I know that you go to their website. They would love to have you volunteer. But if you are an athlete and would like to participate, it's not too late to do that. This is a long-standing annual fundraiser that they do, and it is a phenomenal opportunity for you to, as an athlete, to get out there and make it happen, as well as if you want to volunteer. Your company is interested in sponsoring. I know that they are still looking for sponsors as well, so I encourage you to take a look at that. www.longleaftriathlon.com is the website, and you'll see opportunities to sponsor as well as opportunities to volunteer. So I encourage you to do that as well. So this is the end of our show, but I wanted to let you know that next week, as I mentioned, we're going to have Kathleen and a group of young professionals that attended the summit, the Young Professionals Summit in Atlanta, Georgia, that was held this past June. I asked them to come on and talk a little bit about their experience. I believe that this will be an annual event, and each and every year the district will send a minimum of 3 folks. So I encourage you to tune in next week and take a look at what we've got, because I think it will be really exciting to hear about what they thought of it, what they loved about it, what they might not have liked about it, but particularly about what attracts them to Rotary and how to communicate with them, which I think is something that we'll probably talk about a lot, because it is a little different than those of us in the mainstream demographic of Rotary and how we communicate and what really is our buttons. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, get out, do some good, and have a lot of fun. Take care.